episode of Late Afternoon with Clare and Max,
where we will maximize your clarity on everything from current events to middle school drama.
That's right, Max, so let's get to it.
This month has really made us wonder, what are the movie studios thinking?
I mean, honestly, being film buffs and AMC Stubbs members ourselves, we've become completely overwhelmed by the number of fantastic movies all released at the exact same time.
Honestly, there are so many more than last Christmas. There's no way to see them all, even being AMC Stubbs members ourselves.
It's true. So this holiday season, get your knives out. But you won't be having turkey. You'll actually be having some Jojo rabbits.
Oh, and if you have too many leftovers, you can keep them frozen too.
But if you're a biscuits kind of guy, just drizzle some honey over that, boy.
Oh, after eating all that, you will be a queen, but you will no longer be slim.
Yeah, that's a lot of food. It sounds like you've got a parasite. I mean, you're either going to need a doctor or some sleep.
Oh, you know who is a parasite at our Thanksgiving table? Uncle Seamus.
Ugh, that Irishman. I wish we could just lock him and his whole Addams family up on the city of Manhattan.
You know, I doubt it's that unrealistic to close down all 21 bridges, right?
Right. I mean, no Fords or Ferraris could get off that island.
Oh, but a lighthouse might guide him across the dark waters.
You know what? We're not going to let him ruin our talk show. I mean, look around. It's such a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Oh, you joker. It's been raining in LA for a week.
Star Wars. You should go see Star Wars.
Yeah, we couldn't fit that one in.
Sorry. Anyway, we're going to have to live at the theater because there's so much to see.
The blind side shows us how good feels good.
In other news, thousands of Americans refused to partake in the madness of Black Friday this year as a protest against wasteful consumerism leading to environmental degradation.
A very noble cause indeed, but research is yet to be done on the discrepancy of those actively protesting versus those who were just food comatose from Thanksgiving and didn't wake up in time to buy anything.
Like us.
Cranberry sauce.
Yo! It's Black Friday, dude.
Go back to sleep.
We gotta shop.
Well, stay tuned every week for new segments of our variety show.
And catch the full episode on our YouTube in 6 weeks.
Without further ado,
Live from Loxa, it's Late Afternoon!
Welcome back, everybody. We are so lucky to be here with Nathan Lovejoy, the uber-talented Australian from Gabby Duran.
Oh, stop it, Max. It's too much.
We are so excited to have you here. So to start out, could you tell us a little bit about how you got started as an actor?
Yeah, I mean, I got involved first off in high school, really, like you guys, but not in a kind of performing arts high school as such, just a regular old high school. And I was I think the first school play I ever did was in like the 5th grade. It was a show called Kids in Paradise. I can't remember the specifics of the plot, but that was the first time I ever did a show at school. And then in high school, I went on to do drama and theatre studies when I was at the end of high school. Sort of in Australia, it's what we call like HSC or VCE, so it's like the final years of high school, 11 and 12. So, and I did drama before that, but I did it as part of my kind of senior years, I suppose. And then I did school productions all through school as well. So that's where I kind of got a taste for it. And then at the same time, as you guys would well know, the people at home perhaps don't, but I'm incredibly tall. I'm like 6'7", 6'8" on a good day when the wind's blowing the right way. And so I used to play basketball at a really high level, and so it was always a choice for me between those two things. And it was only really after high school I went off to kind of university first, and was doing an arts degree and doing student theatre, and started to really feel like it was what I wanted to do. And then eventually I went to a conservatory, like drama school, and like studied for 3 years, and then the rest is history.
The age-old question, sports or theater?
Yeah.
It takes us back to Greek times.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm sure our viewers would like to know what your creative process is when you get a character.
Man, it's a great question. It does really depend on what it is, I suppose. Like with our show, you know, and I guess with comedy in general, I would probably say sometimes you've probably heard it described as like an outside-in sort of situation where maybe, like with Principal Swift, I kind of read the sides at the time when the audition came in, and I thought that it sounded really proper and really kind of British, which it wasn't written that way. And I think even asking the the creators, they had not intended it to be that way, but there was something about it that sounded like that for me, and so I tried doing it in an American accent, just privately at home before I went and auditioned, and I was like, it's kind of weird, and then I did it with an English accent, and I was like, I think this is the way, I think this is what it sounds like. And so that was the catalyst for the rest of it, and then the rest of it kind of comes from there. But you know, it does depend on the work, whereas I think more with dramatic stuff, sometimes it's the other way around, that it can come with more of the kind of psychological stuff first, and you find out how that informs your kind of physical life. But it's really a kind of case-by-case basis, and the school that I studied at was not like any particular technique or way of working. It really was like a pick and choose. We learn a whole lot of different things, and you found the different things that kind of worked for you and sort of applied them however you wanted to in a roundabout kind of way. So you would sort of develop your own sort of process from there.
Perfect. Well, whatever you're doing, it is working really well. If you haven't seen Gabby Brown yet, watch it just because he's absolutely hilarious. So related to that, what is it like being an adult on a Disney Channel show versus a more adult-oriented show?
Oh, it's challenging, obviously, working with really, really difficult teenagers. So what's the difference?
Yeah, or just, where would that...
I mean, the big thing is that there's a lot of, which a lot of people don't realise, Max is now very well versed in this, but there's a lot of laws around kids working on TV, and so that's the biggest limitation, is they can only work a certain amount of hours. And so if Max and I are doing a scene, and you know this as well, Claire, but for the people at home, is that, you know, they'll shoot Max's stuff first, and then sometimes Max will go off to school or he'll rap, and so I'll have to do the scene with, you know, a stand-in or a piece of tape. So that can be weird, you know, because of course acting really is, ideally, it's an exchange between kind of two people. So it's a little bit, it sort of becomes a little bit technical at times, and also with our show, because there's a lot of there's aliens and special effects and that sort of thing, and so there's a technical side to it there. But I'd say that's kind of the big difference, is your fellow cast members kind of constantly being removed, I suppose. That really is kind of the biggest thing. Apart from that, everything is the same, but it's the speed at which we work and the kind of limitations around time that I think makes it different. And then also not having, I mean, Max and Kylie in particular, the two older people in the cast are, you know, really, really mature, and they all are in their own ways. But that's a strange experience as well sometimes. If Valerie, who's the other adult, isn't around for a long time, you kind of like, man, I haven't spoken to an adult for a while. I mean, we've got the wonderful parents, Aaron and Brent, your parents that are here today. Of course, give me some adult time. But that's sometimes a bit strange, you know, just kind of being the only. Feeling like maybe you're the only adult in the room. There's the crew and everyone else, of course, but they're the big differences. Yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite trait of Principal Swift?
I mean, probably it's and again, this is something I think that I didn't know at the start. You kind of figure it out, and it reveals itself as you kind of keep doing it. The thing I sort of like is that he's experiencing everything for the first time, because even though he's in an adult form, he's never really been on Earth before. And so characters with a lack of self-awareness, you know, whether it's The Office or Principal Swift, people that don't realise sort of the way their behaviour is landing with other people or the way they're impacting other people or their environment, are really fun to play. And so that's a massive thing for him, is that everything's happening to him for the first time, whether that's his relationships with humans or objects, like the drinking stick thing. He mistakes a toilet plunger and thinks that it's some sort of vessel for drinking liquid. So that's probably the most interesting thing, because there's a real sort of childlike quality that comes with that, which of course is really cool and really fun and really sort of a beautiful thing when someone just doesn't get it, you know? So that's the most interesting thing, I think.
So kind of switching gears then, as you know, we in the show want to highlight some organizations that are doing amazing things in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So you're very involved in the Ads Up organization. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it stands for Australian Diaspora Stands Up, right? So diaspora is kind of like a group of people, like whether it be Australians or Americans, that have kind of like spread out to different parts of the world. So it's the Australian diaspora that's kind of in the United States. And so it's in Australia, in much the same way there is here, there's people are held in immigration detention that try to come to our country without kind of paperwork. And most of the time they're coming by boat from places like Indonesia and other parts of Asia. And so, the Australian government has a policy that says if you do that, it's always been this way, but it's become more hardline in recent times. If you do that, you're not going to reach Australia. We're going to put you on this island in the Pacific, and that's where you're going to stay. It used to be that you could apply for asylum and get refugee status, and you could ultimately make it to Australia. But the government that's in power at the moment has implemented a really hardline policy. And so there's been people that have been on these two islands. One is a place called Nauru, which is a country unto itself. And the other one is a place called Manus, which is an island that's part of Papua New Guinea. And so there's been refugees held on those two islands essentially indefinitely for sort of 6, 7, 8 years. So basically the two governments, the Australian government and the US government, agreed to do a refugee swap where a small number of people claiming asylum were sent from US detention to Australia, and Australia in turn has sent like a couple of thousand people here. So there's people being settled in the USA that have been in immigration detention in Australia for 6 or 7 years, and now they're coming to the USA to sort of start a new life. And there's a couple in LA, some friends of mine, Kurosh and Ellie, hi guys, and then people all around the States. And so I just got involved. We were making some regular donations, as you try and sort of do to charity, kind of tick that box, and then be a good person. And then in the hiatus for the show, because we and the start date for our second season has been pushed out even more, so we've had this huge amount of time off. You've had to go to school. I've had to contemplate the meaning of life. But that is kind of what happens when because contractually there's a limit to what you can do, and so I started thinking, I write and do different things, but I was like, I need to find sort of something else to give me a bit of kind of purpose and direction and to sort of try and ground me. And they were looking for volunteers to kind of do more stuff. And so I started out by meeting some people that were here in LA. And then I got more involved in helping people around the country. So I kind of like work the phones a little bit. I have on my computer, I have all these WhatsApp chats with people that have just got here. I make them kind of Amazon lists where we buy them stuff that they need when they arrive. I kind of liaise with the resettlement agencies, which are the government agencies that do support them when they get here. So if there's someone who's having like a hard time with one, or there's a language barrier, I might try and sort of get involved and try and help them communicate a little more, not by necessarily speaking their language, but maybe I can find someone that can translate, different things like that, essentially. And yeah, it's been great. And then also trying to raise awareness wherever I've had a chance to, doing a little bit of press and stuff for the show, to talk about it whenever I get a chance to do that, and try and get people to kind of contribute where they can. But it's great. It's obviously a big help to the people that have just got here, but more than anything, it has been really good for me to just give me a bit of purpose and direction. And what they say, it's better to give than to receive, and it really does go a long way to allaying some of the normal sort of anxiety and depression that kind of crops up when you have a lot of time off work. So it's really given me something to kind of focus on that I think is kind of worthwhile and important as well.
That's incredible. How can our viewers and people everywhere get involved with this?
Well, you don't have to be Australian. There's a website which is just ads, so ads-up, UP, in case you didn't know how to spell up, .org, so ads-up.org, and that's the website where you can read about the charity. It'll explain the kind of work that they do. And there's a lot of donation links, ways to obviously just contribute financially. And then also you can drop the charity an email if you are someone that wants to get involved, if you'd be happy to maybe meet new arrivals in your community, depending on where you live. We always need people like that. And there's all sorts of ways you can end up doing what I do, which is a more involved role where I'm talking to a lot of different people. But just check out the website, make a donation, and drop us a line if you'd want to be involved in a more detailed way, I guess.
Yeah. And I'm just curious, and I think our viewers might be too. What do you think is the biggest challenge for people coming from that world in 7 or 8 years and holding to coming to the U.S.? Yeah.
Well, the thing that struck me meeting the two friends of mine, Ellie and Kurosh, that are in LA, when I first met them, a lot of the things that they were finding difficult were the same things that I found difficult when I moved here. Navigating around a new city, particularly LA, which is love this place, but it's not an easy place to be a new person in, particularly when you don't have your license yet and different things like that. So there's all that stuff. But then of course the cultural stuff that comes with moving to a new place. But more than that, it's the 6 years in detention and having your life on hold for that period of time. You kind of forget who you are and what you want and how to do different things. Even the smallest thing, like figuring out the public transport system in the first instance, can just seem like the biggest thing in the world, like so kind of confronting because you've just been living on this little dot of an island in the Pacific, and even though being detained is there's so much that's wrong with it, but you do have this weird sort of sense of community. You're with people that are going through the same thing. You have structure and all the rest of it. There's things that they kind of do, and then to be then released into the world is like, I think that's a real shocking moment. So add that to all the normal stuff that anyone would feel moving to the USA from another country, the stuff that I experienced. It's a culture shock multiplied by 100,000, I think. But to their credit, so they really do. They make it work and they do find their way. But it is important that they have, the infrastructure and people there to kind of support them through that process. And of course, language. Language still does my head in because I only speak English, and I've always felt a little bit insecure about that. It's a bit of an American thing as well, particularly an Australian thing. We're down the bottom of the world. There was no real reason. I learnt German in high school, but I always feel kind of foolish for not being able to speak a second language. And imagine coming here and being a native Farsi speaker or someone from Myanmar or a Somali person with barely any English and trying to figure out the USA is just mind-boggling. Yeah. So that's not easy either.
Do you think that that's an issue that Principal Swift dealt with coming to
Well,
the
yeah,
Earth?
I mean, that's the thing. And again, this kind of, I didn't think about it until after I spoke about it a couple of times. And I do think, note to the writers, maybe there's a way that it could be more explicitly addressed, is there's a lot of similarities because that's what they call immigrants to the USA. You're called aliens. So I'm like, I've got a green card, and so I'm a resident alien. And so that's essentially what these guys are as well. So it's really similar. So I do think that there's crossover of that in the show, and that's something that I didn't see. I probably, even when we were working on it, I wasn't even really thinking about it. But the idea of being empathetic towards people that are kind of different to you and understanding that we have sort of common ground. So yeah, there probably is some similarities, and it'd be interesting to explore that a bit more explicitly maybe in the seasons to come. Who knows? Get to it, writers. Figure it out.
Get on it right now.
Well, everyone go check out Ads Up. That sounds just incredible.
Yeah, have a look.
And so I think we're just about out of time, sadly.
Yeah.
But we have a couple more questions, just on a more personal note.
Sure.
What's one thing on your bucket list?
Man, what is on my bucket list? Oh man, I think the biggest thing for me is just like more travel. I've done like quite a bit. I sort of started traveling, I guess, relatively for an Australian. When you're Australian, people travel like as soon as you sort of hit like 18, people are just like out the door for like, you know, we have people take like gap years, you know what I mean? And I was late. I was after I went to drama school, and I've done quite a lot now. But there's a lot of places that I'd kind of still love to go. You know, I'd love to go to India, though I'm scared of getting sick because when I went to Southeast Asia, I got very sick. But yeah, I'd love to do that, and yeah, just love to travel more and see more of the, you know, the people of the world, I suppose, and love to create stuff. You know, I like you guys and like a lot of actors, I think, you know, we all want to be something other than what we are. Like, I'd love to kind of write and create content, and that is definitely on my bucket list. But it's harder than it looks sometimes, you know, as you know. So probably those two things.
Interesting. So you see yourself as like a writer, director, producer if you were to
Yeah, I mean,
branch out in the industry?
this is my self-depreciating Australian side talking, but like, I don't see myself as that now. I mean, I think I'm a part-time, like, I do really like to write, but I mean, God, it's, you know, it's hard, it's difficult. I've got things that I've kind of been working on for a long time that still have not, you know, haven't seen the light of day, as it were. But I'd love to. I'd mainly just like to create things with I've got a lot of friends here that I went to drama school with in Australia. And that's kind of my biggest kind of dream is I sort of think we're all here. Like it's like you guys and your community that you have here at school. I've got some of my best friends that I went through drama school with. I'm like, this is our moment, you know.
Collaborate.
I want to make something and have it be ours, I suppose. So that's a work in progress. We'll get there eventually. Yeah. So to put it concisely, to create and to travel.
Okay.
There you
Pretty
go.
good
Very
bucket
nice.
list.
Yeah.
So circling back around to your basketball days, we know there's an episode of Gabby Duran where you school somebody in the art of basketball. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
About shooting it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it was really fun. It was kind of crazy because like everything in TV and particularly on our show, I think it's because of the thing I was talking about before with the rules around how much the kids can work and how much we're trying to do in a day. We're always behind and things are always kind of being thrown together a little bit sometimes. And that basketball scene was one of those. It was a day where we were really, really very behind. And everyone knew I'd sort of talked about being good-ish at basketball. And so they wrote this thing. But then I think on the day, everyone was sort of looking at me like, can you do this? Like, we've written this thing, like, can you actually do it? I'm like, yeah, don't worry about it. And they were trying to sort of choreograph stuff with kids. And I was a bit like, I was wearing these incredibly uncomfortable, like, Chuck Taylor All-Star.
You guys should definitely check out that.
The shoes were like too small for me. And I sort of thought we'd be shooting it for like an hour or something. And no, we ended up shooting for quite a long time. But in the end, I just said, hey, it's going to be okay. Just roll the cameras and let's just let me do it. Like, I'll improvise and we'll play and it'll be fine. And then once we got started, it was really fun. And the kid who played Howard, his name escapes me. I remembered it the other day and I've forgotten. I'm sorry, Howard. But
Shout out to whoever you are.
Yeah, but he was such a good sport, and it was so much fun. Although I did have like blood bruises under my big toenails on both feet.
They say acting's easy. It's not.
Because I do stuff, and they'd be like, "That was great," and I'd be like, "Great, cool. Can we knock off now?" And they'd be like, "No, do it again." And so I was in a world of pain by the end of it, but it was a lot of fun. It was kind of like my two favorite things in my life kind of dovetailing together, so it was really fun, and seeing it all cut together was cool.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, can you give us a little sample of your Principal Swift voice? I think everyone wants to
Yeah,
hear
one
it.
line. Your favorite.
Your favorite Principal Swift
Well,
line.
it's been such a pleasure talking to you, Claire, and you, Max. You really have such exceptional potential, and I wish you all the best in the future, and I wish you, the viewers, all the best in the future as well. Merry Christmas.
Iconic.
Nathan Lovejoy, everybody.
Nathan Lovejoy.
called a chili when it's actually hot? I've developed a severe phobia of elevators. I'm taking steps to avoid them. Is the S or C silent in scent? Why is it called a building when it's already built? Do you think the sea is salty because the land never waves back?
What are you doing in my car?
Hello and welcome to our very first Stupendous Story segment.
So a little bit about this portion of our show. Our goal with Stupendous Stories is to showcase outstanding organizations and the incredible, amazing things that they are doing for the world.
So to do that, we may travel to the organization, interview someone who's involved in it, or direct you to their website and social media, or possibly all of the above.
So this week we're highlighting City of Hope Hospital in Duarte, California. We had the privilege to go there this holiday season, and we were just blown away. We were blown away by how incredible of a place it was and how amazing of a community they had built.
And not only have they built such an amazing community, but founded in 1913, they have become one of the top, the leading cancer research hospitals in the nation, the top one in the West. They are a founding member of the National Comprehensive Cancer Network and are really just making leaps and bounds as far as new research and treatment protocols for pediatric cancer in particular.
Yeah. They're also one of the leading research hospitals in diabetic research. They actually invented insulin in one of their research facilities, and recently, thanks to a very generous donation, have been allowed to continue their research and are closer to a cure than ever before.
So we really, really encourage you to go to their website as well as their Instagram and learn about what they're doing, the amazing work they're doing. While we were there, we had the privilege of meeting tons of really exceptional young people who are staying strong in the face of this horrible thing. Particularly Chris Rivera was an exceptional person. He has recently graduated high school but has already fought cancer on multiple occasions and lost his leg in the process. So he's in need of a prosthetic leg. So please, please, please go look at the link in our bio. If you're looking for a cause to donate to, we really, really encourage you to look into that.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for watching our very first Stupendous Story segment, and we can't wait to come back with another organization. Please feel free to DM us if you have any ideas of places we should highlight. So that being said, please look into City of Hope Hospital. They really are doing incredible things.
And please take a few minutes out of your day and go support Chris Rivera. He's an exceptional person.
Thank you. You guys are probably wondering why I gathered you here today. It's to recruit for the Mutant Underground.
Going down.
Going down. You guys too. I'm recruiting for the Mutant Underground. Would anybody be interested?
I don't know what that is.
Well, then I guess you know you know.
How did you find me?
We've been watching you for a while.
Ground floor.
I've been looking.
Bye, thank you. Yeah, this does not have the latest news. Did you guys hear about the mutant attack? What? They're not putting it like on any of the news, but there's like this mutant attack at LACMA. Yeah, I don't know. Crazy, right? And they're not like, I gotta tell them to put it on there. Yeah, be careful. Yeah, it's not even out there. I'm trying to decide what to get. Have you guys tried the Mutant chocolate chip? Is it good? It's like named after mutants, right? Or something? Yeah. Have you tried it?
No, I haven't tried it yet.
Alright. Well, maybe I'll try that. Thank you. Did you guys hear about the mutant attack on LACMA the other day?
There was a mutant attack on LACMA?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Kind of crazy, right? Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to tell you guys because I heard that they were like going at Legos because Legos have never made a mutant Lego.
Oh.
So like, be careful.
Okay,
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, bye. Do you have superpowers? What are you building? The Mutant Underground? Me too.
Hello and welcome back to a brand new segment of Late Afternoon with Claire and Max. We are your hosts, Claire and Max, and today is a very special segment. It's our very first social media challenge.
That's right. So as one of our segments, each episode, we are going to release a social media challenge out into the world for you all to do. We'll do it ourselves on the initial video and then gather up our favorite submissions and share them on the next social media segment.
Yeah, now depending on the challenge, you can submit by either commenting below, DMing us at double.donovan, or creating a new post altogether and hashtagging and tagging us in that post.
Yep, okay, so without further ado, the social media challenge for this week is, drumroll please, travel fiasco story.
Ooh,
Woo!
hashtag travel fiasco at double.donovan.
Exactly, so I'm gonna turn this over to you, Max.
All right, well, we both have a few travel fiasco stories, but this is one that stood out to me. It was our very first time going to Europe, really out of the country at all, and I think I was about 7 at the time, and I'd gone through, baby Max, who was still, 5 feet tall. No, I wasn't. I like to think I was. So I had made it through, I think, 2 or 3 American security checkpoints without ever getting stopped. And we get into Nice in France, which I don't know if we have any French viewers, but if we do, hey.
Shout out at Nice.
At Nice. It's a cool place. Now, this is the first time we'd ever stepped foot out of the country, and alarms everywhere. Because my bag was getting stopped and pulled off to the side, and it was and everyone was coming over to see what was going on.
And Max.
And I was sobbing. Oh, completely. Yeah, I was a nervous wreck. I don't totally remember it just because I couldn't see anything.
The trauma.
Because I was just crying. So they go through searching my bag, and I'm wondering what they're going to find. I'm thinking I'm going to jail for the rest of my life because, that's an obvious thought. And this French patrol officer pulls out a pair of handcuffs. Now, I keep insisting, they're not mine. And he's just laughing, but I think that he's insulting me for some reason.
They're fake handcuffs, mind you.
They are fake handcuffs.
But nonetheless.
They were still metal, apparently.
Wouldn't have been brought on the plane had American checkpoints found it.
I don't know how they didn't find it, honestly. So, when we get back from this trip, awesome trip, by the way, but I go and look in my toy chest, and in there were my pair of handcuffs.
They've never been taken.
So they had never been taken to Europe. They were not my pair. Now, Gus and Andy Heisel, hi. I hope you're watching. Shout out, we love you guys. But they had planted these handcuffs in my bag as a joke, thinking, at Denver he'll get pulled aside and freak out, and then that'd be the end of it. But it happened in a foreign country.
Max was very traumatized.
To a French jail. Wouldn't have been that bad though. They have baguette and Nutella. That's about it.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
So that is our travel fiasco story, and we can't wait to hear yours. So, as Max mentioned before, you can either comment below right now your story, DM us at double.donovan with either a video of you saying your story or your printed out version, or you can start an all new post, hashtag travel fiasco story, and tag us at double.donovan. So we can't wait to see what you have to say, and thank you for watching our very first social media challenge video.
See you guys next time on Late Afternoon
with Claire and Max.